semester from where we stopped. Last semester we ended with the 6 types of 6 groups actually, 6 dyads, which were the kaya pasadi, chitta pasadi, kaya lahuta, chitta lahuta, kaya mudita, chitta mudita, kaya kammanta, chitta kammanta, kaya pagunyata, chitta pagunyata, and kaya ujjigata, chitta ujjigata. Today we are going to discuss some points about the 3 virati cetasikas. Virati cetasikas means mental states by which we abstain from evil acts. There is no specific cetasika call for the abstaining from evil acts or evil thoughts in the mind. Normally it is done with the sati cetasika. Especially for the abstaining from physical and verbal acts. In our tradition, there have 3 cetasikas have been introduced, which inhibits the mind from involving in wrongdoings. So collectively we call them virati cetasikas, and in detail they are threefold as Sammā-Vācā, Sammā-Kammanta and Sammā-Ajīva. Then this virati is means abstaining. Mainly it is twofold: abstaining temporarily and abstaining permanently. So permanent abstaining happens or restraining happens at the moment of attaining supramundane path, supramundane fruition. Temporal abstaining of evil deeds happens while we observe sila and keep our sila or keep ourselves away from wrongdoings. So it's a temporal sort of abstaining. So if you go into the first paragraph, 5.49 says, nature of the mind which temporarily or permanently, in Pali tadanga vasena and vikkammana vasena, samuccheda vasena, inhibits the person from performing physical and verbal evil acts is called virati. Actually, alternatively, it can be defined as the mental strength that helps us to restrain from immoral acts either for a certain period or forever. The third definition is the temporal or permanent inhibition itself from akusala act is called virati. So always we have another point to keep in mind is in the Theravada tradition, when a cetasika is being introduced, we can have 3 sorts of definitions. Subjective definition, instrumental definition and abstract definition. So subjective definition means we consider the reality as a subject and explain it as a reality or thing that performs its function. Instrumental definition is because chitta cetasikas arise in a cluster together. So we separate the particular dhamma, reality, and explain the remaining realities. So this particular reality which we emphasize becomes the instrument for the remaining mentalities to perform the function. That is called the instrumental definition. The abstract definition is the function itself is called the reality, because we know realities are just actions, mere actions or mere natures according to the tradition. So teachers prefer this abstract definition as the most accurate in terms of explaining a reality. But if you go into the suttas, Buddha has more preferred in Samyutta Nikaya to give the definition subjectively. So I think personally I prefer. I'll be explaining this in a forthcoming lecture when we conclude the mentalities next week, hopefully. The subjective idea that we have of a doer, he replaced it with a non-self reality. It means people tend to think that there is a person who thinks, but he used to say it's the vijnana which thinks. So the subjective self which had a subjective, we consider as a subject who does the actions, the imaginary self, he replaced it with ultimate realities. But when we come to the deep explanations, according to Abhidhamma point of view, it is just a nature. So the abstract definition, the bhava sadhana vigraha in Pali, is considered is more accurate. So if I just give a small explanation on this, these definitions are called kattu sadhana, then karana sadhana, and bhava sadhana. So in terms of virati, kattu sadhana definition is the reality or the mentality which restrains from evil acts. Which restrains from evil acts is called the virati. Then karana sadhana vigraha, in the karana sadhana vigraha we have to take the remaining associating mentalities. They restrain from acts because of or due to virati. Due to means making virati as an instrument. With the help of virati, the remaining mentalities doesn't perform evil acts. Instead of using the remaining mentality in the definition, I have used the person. I have gone with the conceptual idea because it makes it more clear. So it's no problem. Normally in Abhidhamma point of view, when karana sadhana vigraha is given to mentalities, what their teachers just do is they extract a particular reality they want to explain, they want to define, and the remaining realities which are associating them are considered as the performer, as the subject. Then bhava sadhana vigraha is the abstaining itself is called the virati. So these are the three types of definitions that we can give for any cetasika. With regard to ācāra-vriati, the definition goes a bit differently, but most of the other cetasikas like passa, vedana, sanya, we have three types of definition. Because in ācāra-vriati's definition, we don't have a sadhana actually. It comes as a nominal definition. Eko aggo, yasati ekaggo, and ekaggasya bhavo ācāra-vriati. So that's how the ācāra-vriati is being defined. But most of the other mentalities, we have three types of definitions, right? So that is another extra point of extra definition, explanation. So we go into the viratis. Viratis are the mental power because of which we keep our virtue. Virtue means abstaining from physical and verbal immoral acts. Physical and verbal immoral acts. So these physical and verbal immoral acts are twofold. The acts we do for the sake of our livelihood, and the acts we do without any reason, without any connection with our livelihood. So we'll be explaining this when we come to the Sammā-Ajiva. So before we go into explaining different viratis, we have to take it as collectively as a one nature virati. Virati is abstaining. So according to the Buddhist literature, there are three types of abstainings mentioned in the scriptures. So three types are, first one is sampatti-virati. Then we have samādāna-virati. Then have samuccheda-virati. I have given it in the hand. Sampatti-virati, if we explain the samādāna-virati, it's more clear at the beginning. Samādāna-virati means a person determines not to do evil acts because of his observance of a sila. Because of keeping the precepts, he determines, or when a situation comes for him to breach the sila, he would keep the sila without breaching it. So that time the abstaining is called samādāna-virati. It happens due to his observation of the sila precepts. So there is a nice story given in the literature. A farmer, a normal poor farmer, obtained a sila from a very reputed monk in ancient Sri Lanka. This is a commentary story. And he got the 5 precepts. So while he was working in a mountain, suddenly a python took him and he started to wrap him. So at that time, because the python breaks the bonds of the being and then swallows it. So while he was wrapping, he got immense of pain. So he had an axe with him. He could kill the python, cut his head or attack him and get released. So while he was thinking to cut the head, he remembered the respected teacher from him who took the sila. Then he thought it is not proper for a person for me to break the sila after having taken it from such a respected Thera. Maybe he was a noble Thera. Then he gave up the idea. Then while the python was strengthening its grip, again the intention came to kill it and to get released. So the second time also he abstained the idea and thought it's not proper. Third time, again when the grip was getting more tightened, he thought to kill and get released. But again his mind went to consider about the sila he took from the Mahathera, and he thought this idea comes to me because of having this axe in my hand. If I doesn't have the axe, this kind of thought will not go. So he threw away the axe. So the story goes, because of the power of his sila, the python couldn't hold on his body. So maybe it felt like it was too hot for it, and he suddenly released the person and went away. So this kind of abstaining, considering about the virtue he observed, is called samādāna-virati. This can happen in two occasions. While we observe the silas, we determine that I may not do such things. And while a person who has observed the silas, when such an occasion appeals him to break the sila or do an immoral act, the situations, circumstances invites him to do such a thing. Maybe they appeal him, or he is in a troublesome situation that he may do an immoral act to save himself. On such occasions, if he consider about the sila and abstains from such an act, it is called samādāna-virati. So at that time, a cetasika appears in the mind, stopping his mental stream from performing the evil act, allowing the immorality to dominate his mind. So that is called samādāna-virati. Sampatti-virati means without consideration about the observation. Some beings naturally tend to not to do immoral acts. And the next point is, even if a person who has observed the sila sometimes abstain from such acts, not because of sila, because he thinks it is not proper. So even whether a person has observed or not the sila, if he restrains from acts without considering his morality, that time abstaining is called sampatti-virati. The term goes as he abstains from the object which has arrived at him. It means, for an instant, a mosquito is biting someone, so the pain comes. Suddenly he thinks to kill it. So then he abstains from that act. If he doesn't consider about his sila, just have compassion towards the mosquito and chases away, that is called a sampatti-virati. But if he thinks, I have observed the sila, so it's not proper for me to break the sila, then he abstains, it is called a samādāna-virati. So whether the person have observed the sila or not, if someone abstains from evil deeds without considering about his precepts or some other reason, that restraining was called sampatti-virati. Then samuccheda-virati means the abstaining which happens permanently at the moment of attaining supramundane paths. So at that time, the potencies of performing evil acts, verbal and physical evil acts, will be completely eradicated by the power of the supramundane virati cetasikas. So this virati is threefold, as Sammā-Vācā, Sammā-Kammanta and Sammā-Ājīva. They have their own intrinsic natures and they arise accordingly in certain chittas. So this is called samuccheda-virati. Samuccheda-virati happens while we attain the supramundane path. Then the sampatti-virati has been explained as fourfold in the literature. Actually, this fourfold division comes not with the term of virati, it comes with the term of sila. if you go to the footnote number 103, Visuddhimagga explained these terms as pakati-sila, ācāra-sila, dhammatā-sila and pubbahetuka-virati. Here the names are given paying attention at the faculty of restraining, that is to say, in this book, in this handout, I have named them paying attention to the restraining faculty. Moreover, the sub-commentary on Visuddhimagga has explained these 4 types of silas as virati. So therefore, if you search as, if you go to the 5.4911, you see pakati-virati. There is no term called pakati-virati. You will find pakati-sila. You may not find ācāra-vriati, you will find ācāra-sila. So what I have done is, I have replaced the word sila with virati. Right? Because the sub-commentary explains, and it is also understandable that this sila is because of the virati. So sub-commentary says these all are sampatti-virati. If you go to the Pali term given under footnote 103, idam panna pakati-sila, siladi, pakati-siladi samādāna vina avītikkama-lakkanam sampatti-virati sangaham dattam. So these are all included in the sampatti-virati. So sampatti-virati is 4-4. If you go into the handout, 4911, pakati-virati, abstaining of humans in the island so-called Uttarakuru from 5 immoral deeds. In our literature, there are 4 islands called Uttarakuru, Pubbahetuka-Virati, ācāra-Vriati and Jambudipa, which we cannot find according to the which we cannot find any such land at the present world based on our findings and also corresponding to the characteristics introduced in the literature. So, but as I'm giving literature information from the literature, I have to mention it. Abstaining of human beings. So the beings in those in that land are said to be observing sila. Observing means naturally doesn't breach the 5 precepts. So their sila is called pakati. That is by nature. There is no observance of sila. By nature they don't breach. So it's a very nice island according to the literature, in which there is no quarrels. Then ācāra-vriati. Ācāra-vriati means abstaining from immoral deeds, respecting the customs followed by one's own clan or tribe in certain regions or countries one lives in, or by certain religious sects. So it means in some tribes, some clans, they do not perform certain immoral deeds because as a custom of their tribe, as a custom of their sect, or a custom in their country. So, since there is no relation with the observance of a precept, we still call it a sampatti-sila. But to my understanding, this is very close to a samādāna-sila. Because if someone is in a certain tribe, when he gets to know about the custom, it's sort of a certain observation that he does. Because he would naturally say that he doesn't do such a thing in order to protect, in order to keep his customs. So it is very similar to a samādāna-sila, but it is listed as a sampatti-sila because I think in the Buddhist classification, samādāna-sila is exclusively about observing precepts as introduced in our tradition. Right? Otherwise, because you see in other religious sects also there are certain rules or certain things that they don't do, bad immoral deeds, and they are very similar to precepts according to their religions, right? So then dhammatā-virati. Dhammatā-virati means this is a natural sort of abstaining which happens because of some mysterious reasons. The example given is the bodhisattva's mother. When the bodhisattva's mother is conceived with the bodhisattva in his last life, from the moment she is conceived, she doesn't have any sensual, lustful thoughts towards another male. So even towards her husband. The reason is because of the great spiritual qualities the bodhisattva has developed throughout the samsara. When such a being is in a mother's womb, that naturally his qualities affects her mind. And this is also something which is explained in the Buddhist literature, because we call sometimes the mother gets certain wishes according to the child's character. Some mothers want to do evil acts, some want to do good acts because of the temperament of the child. So as the Bodhisattva in his last life is full of, his character is very much inclined towards spirituality, and because of his accumulation of sila in the past lives, his power or influence, because of his influence, the mother naturally doesn't get lustful feelings even towards her husband. So this is called a dhammatā-virati, right? Restraining happens as a law of the nature. Then pubbahetuka-virati means some beings by nature, by birth, abstain from evil deeds. This is because of their past practice in their past lives. So dhammatā-virati, in the case of dhammatā-virati, the bodhisattva's case, it affected the mother. But in pubbahetuka-virati, the person itself, the bodhisattva himself, while he is wandering in the samsara, in some lives, by nature, he is a very compassionate person who doesn't harm any other beings and also keeps himself away from evil acts. Another example is the Venerable Mahakassapa and his wife, Baddha-Kapilani. They were naturally moral beings. The reason was they had been practicing together spiritual practices throughout the samsara for a longer period. So because of that, in the last life, both of them didn't breach any sila by nature. So examples were given about the Mahakassapa, Baddha-Kapilani and certain lives of the Bodhisattva. Right? So these are the 4 types of virati related to the sampatti-virati. Yes.
And his mother towards his father, this is not an immoral deed.
Yeah, that's true. It's not an immoral deed, but its explanation is given in extreme level, even to his husband. So there's nothing to say about another person, right? And also I would like to, at the end I will explain, virati is not only regarding the immoral deeds that are breaching the sila. I will come to that point in the next half of the lecture, because virati also abstains from many sort of acts which are done with unwholesome mind. I will come to that point at the end of this handout. Right? It's not only the sila. It's not only the sila that we observe. We can prove it with evidences from the literature. So, if you go to the next page, the second paragraph. The aforesaid virati, triad of virati, again becomes threefold as Sammā-Vācā, Sammā-Kammanta, Sammā-Ācāra. So if we list down what we have discussed so far. Virati is threefold. That is sampatti-virati, samādāna-virati, samuccheda-virati. And this sampatti-virati becomes fourfold as yes, this one was pakati-virati. Actually, it's pakati-sila before the pakati-virati here. ācāra-vriati, dhammatā-virati, and pubbahetuka-virati. Okay. Now all this virati is again threefold. As Sammā-Vācā, Sammā-Kammanta, and Sammā-Kammanta. So you can name them as Sammā-Vācā, Sammā-Kammanta, Sammā-Vācā. So all become threefold. So this is the tree of viratis. So now we are focusing on Sammā-Vācā. So it means Sammā-Vācā means restraining from evil acts done through speech. So it can be a restraining because of a sampatta-virati, right? And because of his, for example, if you think about the restraining of the people in the Uttarakudu, that it falls into a sampatti-virati, and also it's a by nature pakati-virati. Right? And then if you think about a person who has following a custom of his clan, he abstains from evil deep words. So this falls into sampatti-virati and ācāra-vriati and Sammā-Vācā. Right? So likewise, this tree of virati becomes wider when we put into such diagram. The 5.50, Sammā-Vācā, abstaining from immoral speech. Sammā-Vācā is the inhibition of the mind from wrong speech. It is a mental factor which has its own intrinsic nature. That's a very important point. So we in our Theravada tradition, we consider it as a separate ultimate reality or a cetasika, right? As found in number of suttas, it is fourfold in terms of verbal acts. It is fourfold in terms of verbal acts mind restrains from, right? Mind restrains, so it is fourfold. What are those? Musāvādā-Veramani, abstaining from lying. Pisunā-Vācā-Veramani, abstaining from slandering. Parusā-Vācā-Veramani, abstaining from harsh word. And Sampapalapa-Veramani, abstaining from vain talks. So when the both classification are mentioned under 5.49 and 5.50 are merged together, so what happens? For example, it's what we have discussed. So this is 5.49 and this is 5.50. So if you go to examples, when a person observes the precept not to lie, at that moment the inhibition of his mind to restrain from lying is called samādāna-virati, Sammā-Vācā. Right? It's called samādāna-virati, Sammā-Vācā. When a monk restrains from slandering, considering the second pācitya rule, right? Second pācitya rule, omasavāde pācitya. Sorry, bhikkhu pesunye. So please change it. I made it wrong. So it will be bhikkhu pesunye. So I'll write it down. Bhikkhu pesunye. Pācitya, right? Bhikkhu pesunye. Pācitya. So this is abstaining from slandering. Yeah, so third pācitya, not second, sorry. Yeah, it's mistake. Third. So his emission of the mind is called samādāna-virati, pisunā-vācā-virati, right? Because it's still regarding the rules, right? A rule for the conscious. When someone abstains from speaking out harsh words when he is in a heated argument, considering his age or social status without considering about the morality, that inhibition of his mind is called sampatti-virati, parusā-vācā-virati, right? Because sampatti-virati, it's a sampatti-virati, parusā-vācā-virati. I think you can understand the point. Then, if you go into the full explanation, Musāvādā-Veramani is abstaining from lying. Pisunā-Vācā-Veramani is abstaining from slandering. Parusā-Vācā-Veramani is abstaining from speaking out harsh words. And Sampapalapa-Veramani is abstaining from vain talk. Right? Abstaining from vain talks. So, vain talks means, here it regards to, according to the literature, talks that are mixed with true and false information. The information were given in the literature. If I repeat what is given in the literature, it's like stories like Ramayana and Mahabharata. If they keep on, if they say it to people as and make them to listen to them as some kind of custom or for the entertainment. At that time, this is considered as a sampapalapa. It's how to say. According, that's what is mentioned in the literature. Some scholars used to say that you have to make them to believe it, right? Some scholars say You have to make them to believe it. But the commentary says, like, if when you are speaking, it doesn't mention about whether you make them to believe it or not. Just speaking them in audiences or just for the entertainment is considered as sampapalapa. So a note paying attention is, in the notes I have mentioned, with regard to sampapalapa veramani, abstaining from vain talk, there is no precept specifically introduced to lay disciples. Because in Panchasila, you don't have sampapalapa. And or rule promulgated for monks. Even for monks, there is no, even a dukkata rule for the sampapalapa. Like it's for vain talk. Therefore, it should be further researched whether there is any samādāna-virati sampapalapa veramani according to the Theravada tradition. Because if there is no rule specifically for sampapalapa, we have to consider whether it is possible to have a samādāna-virati sampapalapa according to the tradition. There is a custom, especially in Sri Lanka, to go to the footnote. There is a 1.05. There is a sila observed called ājīva-attamaka sila. Ājīva-attamaka means a sila which is 8 precepts, of which the 8th one is abstaining from micchā ājīva. Abstaining from micchā ājīva. So these are 8 precepts. In these 8 precepts, a person abstains from killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, then lying, slandering, harsh word, and sampapalapa is vain talk, and then finally from micchā ājīva. So this is a custom followed by certain Mahatheras in Sri Lanka. So, but Rerukane Chandravimala Mahathera, very renowned scholar, he has given a note on this, saying that there is no evidences that you can find, even for a monk, to Buddha has introduced a precept, even for a monk, to abstain from it. He has introduced not to talk such speeches because they are called tiracchana kata. Tiracchana kata doesn't mean, it should not be translated as animal talk. Animal talk, it means like it gives a very bad impression. Tiracchana kata means the speeches which lay horizontally, right? Horizontally on the path, against the path for liberation. It is an impediment for the path. That's why the tiracchana means ones who, the creatures who walk horizontally, right? Horizontally on the earth. So the speeches which becomes a horizontal impediment to the path to liberation is called the tiracchana kata. So it's not proper to be translated as animal talk. You can translate as translating directly, but it gives a different sort of impression. So this vain talk is not introduced into the monks. So he gives the point, and he says in the beginning he also used to give this ājīva-attamaka sila to devotees. Then later he abandoned this custom, saying that there is no such an introduction of ājīva-attamaka sila to should not be. This is not proper to be introduced to the people because it is something very difficult to protect. Something which is very difficult to keep. Therefore, that's why I have given as an argument. Then this Sammā-Vācā, the word Sammā-Vācā, for example, the word Sammā-Vācā is threefold again within the literature. So this now, we are talking about the abstaining. So this word Sammā-Vācā is found in 3 ways. First is Kata Sammā-Vācā. This can also be called Vohara Sammā-Vācā, Kata or Vohara. Then we have Cetana Sammā-Vācā. Then Virati Sammā-Vācā. So the tree we drew on the board was only related to Virati. So in Sammā-Kammanta and Sammā-Ājīva also we have few definitions, few ways of interpreting the term. So in all the definitions, here we emphasize on the Virati part only. The Virati part only. It's the abstaining part. They are not abstaining. They are something to be performed. Here is something by which we abstain. So Kata Sammā-Vācā means speaking profitable, beneficial words or giving such speeches or uttering Dhamma talks, reading the Dhamma books for others to listen. So likewise, beneficial speech is called Sammā-Vācā. Then the volition which performs such speech is called the Cetana Sammā-Vācā. So these two definitions can be found, fetched from the sutta, fetched from a sutta that is Apannaka Sutta of Majjhima Nikāya. So if you go to the page number 38, these two aspects of Sammā-Vācā can be found in the Apannaka Sutta of the Majjhima Nikāya. There the Buddha mentioned to the Brahmins of the Sala village that speech of a person who speaks about the life after death, which is an actual phenomenon. If someone speaks about the life after death, atti paroloko, which is an actual phenomenon, his speech is Sammā-Vācā. According to this statement, two interpretations for the term Sammā-Vācā are possible to arrive at: the right speech and the mental volition in uttering such speech. So because it's something that we have to do, not to abstain from. So this also in the Sutta Buddha say is a Sammā-Vācā, when someone speaks such beneficial talks to others. So Sammā-Vācā term, it's not only for abstaining. Mostly it refers to abstaining when it comes to sila, and especially when it comes to the eightfold noble path, it's abstaining. But the word can also be used for right speech or proper types of talks given as a benefiting others. Then virati Sammā-Vācā, from abstaining from immoral speech, either temporarily or permanently. So that is what we were talking here. So all whatever is here Sammā-Vācā, it belongs to the virati Sammā-Vācā. So this is what is the Cetasika that we are talking here. Cetana Sammā-Vācā represents the Cetana Cetasika, the volition. Here, all the mentalities that perform the act. All the mentalities that perform the act. His performance or his act of performing mentalities is called the Kata Sammā-Vācā. So here today's lecture was mainly aimed at this virati part, virati Sammā-Vācā. Now we go to the next part, Sammā-Kammanta. There also we have 3-4 explanations. We focus only at the virati Sammā-Kammanta. So then we go to the next paragraph. When someone has determined to abstain from immoral speech with the help of virati Sammā-Vācā, naturally his speech becomes righteous and beneficial. Hence the sub-commentary on Dhammatā-virati Sutta has defined the term thus: Sammā-Vadati ācāra-vriati Sammā-Vācā. Mental factor owing to which one speaks righteously is called Sammā-Vācā. Because the reason is, when you abstain from immoral speech, naturally what you speak will be proper words. So therefore, Sammā-Vācā is not, because of Sammā-Vācā we mainly abstain from wrong speech. So as a result, whatever we speak out, it will be beneficial. So therefore, Sammā-Vācā is defined in the literature as the mental factor, because by which a person, with the help of which a person speaks beneficial and proper words. Right? Then, among the three, Kata Sammā-Vācā and Cetana Sammā-Vācā are to be developed. These two are to be developed. That's something we have to perform. This Sammā-Vācā is for the abstaining from immoral deeds, used by the verbally done. So this is the abstaining. These are things that we do. For example, this lecture, the lecture I give, because it's a beneficial thing for a spiritual practice, it falls into this Kata Sammā-Vācā. And my intention, volition, falls into the Cetana Sammā-Vācā. Right? So then another term is found as virati Sacca, mainly referring to abstain from false speech. Another word called virati Sacca. This term is found in Cetasikas. The term found in Jataka Pali, it says Sacchetita Samana Brahman, ascetics and Brahmins who are established on truth. In this phrase, the term Sacca has been interpreted in the commentary of Sutta Nipata as virati Sacca. Then the phrase has to be translated as ascetics and Brahmins who are established in the morality of inhibiting themselves from speaking what is not true. It means who speaks only the truth. So when we say virati Sacca is truth. Virati Sacca means they abstain from speaking speaking wrong words, lies. So eventually they will be the ones who speak the truth on. Right? So there's another term which related to the abstaining from lying. So these are the points that I want to discuss regarding the Sammā-Vācā. If you go to Sammā-Kammanta, abstaining from immoral physical acts. So this is the inhibition of the mind which inhibits the person from doing immoral deeds. So we can have three definitions for the same term. Then in many suttas, Buddha has defined the Sammā-Kammanta as pakati-virati, abstaining from killing, samādāna-virati, abstaining from stealing, ācāra-Vriati, abstaining from sexual misconduct. But however, in the next paragraph, in the Vibhanga Sutta of the Magga Samyutta, in Samyutta Nikaya, in the place of ācāra-Vriati, Buddha mentioned abrahmacharya-virati. So this is the only place we find, as the Mahatera suggests, he said that this is the only place that we find instead of ācāra-Vriati, Buddha has mentioned abrahmacharya. When you look into the sutta, you find the sutta was given exclusive to the monks. Maybe that was the reason. But it is a very important fact. This commentary is silent on this occasion. This commentary doesn't say anything. So, in the footnote I have given, the idea of Venerable late Renukane Chandribala Mahatero is of the opinion that this peculiar change should be a scribal error occurred posterior to the commentarial era. Because he suggests so, as the commentary is silent regarding this salient change, which is a prominent matter which relates to the clarification of the noble path. So, he says that this should be a scribal error. And also, I have suggested on the other hand, it is also plausible to assume that the inclusion of abrahmacharya-virati was due to the fact that the sutta was expounded exclusively or aiming mainly to the monk audience. Right? It also can be possible. So this is something that we find out, because instead of ācāra-Vriati, in one sutta, only in one place, there is a mentioning of abrahmacharya-Virati. And this idea also is possible. We will find out in the next lecture that abstaining is not only related to the silas that we observe. Right? So if you go quickly before concluding the lecture. So this Sammā-Kammanta, I think if you go to page 39, if we find out examples, when a person observed the precept determining not to kill any living being, right? He observed the sila not to kill any living being. This inhibition is called samādāna-virati, Sammā-Kammanta, because of his observation. At the moment he observed. When a person restrains from stealing, considering his observation of the precept, because not while observing, while he has the opportunity to steal, he considers it's not proper for me to do because I have observed the sila. At that time, it's still called samādāna-virati, Sammā-Kammanta. When someone abstains from sexual misconduct, when he has such an opportunity, considering his age or social status, that abstaining of his mind is called sampatti-virati, Sammā-Kammanta. So likewise, we should be able to define the practical examples. The term Sammā-Kammanta has been interpreted as in the following three ways. As Sammā-Vācā. It's called, instead of kata, we have kriya. Kriya Sammā-Kammanta. Then cetana Sammā-Kammanta. Then virati Sammā-Kammanta. So Sammā-Kammanta, the term has been interpreted by some scholars. So kriya Sammā-Vācā means, or vohara Sammā-Vācā means, the beneficial deeds we do using our physical body, like helping others, giving dana, paying respect to the elders who deserve the respect. These all are called Sammā-Kammanta in that under this definition. Then the volition which enables the person to do such things is called cetana Sammā-Kammanta. Then the abstaining of the mind from immoral physical acts is called virati Sammā-Kammanta. In this lecture, we are mainly focusing on the virati Sammā-Kammanta, which is a virati cetasika, which has its own intrinsic nature. The final paragraph: when someone has determined to abstain from immoral bodily actions with the help of virati Sammā-Kammanta, naturally his physical actions become righteous and beneficial. Hence the sub-commentary has defined the term Sammā-Karoti etenāti Sammā-Kammang tadeva Sammā-Kammanta. It means mental factor owing to which one does bodily acts righteously is called Sammā-Kamma. and Sammā-Kamma itself is called Sammā-Kammanta, right? Kammanta. Sutta, Suttanta, they are same, right? Sammā-Kamma become Sammā-Kammanta. So these are the points that I want to emphasize in this lecture. The next lecture, when we start, we'll be talking about Sammā-Ājīva and some points related to all the three. Do you have any questions?
Okay. What about samuccheda-virati? I want to know about samuccheda-virati. Which magga and how samuccheda-virati works.
So Bhanta is asking about samuccheda-virati, which magga, here in the case and these. I'll be explaining in the next lecture. I'll explain.